Well, boys, I've now recorded this video about 6 times because my OBS has alt binded for mute, and I alt tabbed every time from my Spotify to go into Rocket League and ended up muting everything I said, so the recording is just a bunch of me fucking around on free play. So that's honestly fantastic, but let's get into it. So this video is going to be going over the 3 most important aspects of improving. It's going to be mechanics, positioning, and mindset. We'll start with mechanics because I honestly think it's the least important in terms of improving and just being a good Rocket League player in general, which kind of sounds stupid. It's just as important as the other ones, but it matters a lot less if the other ones are. If you're bad at positioning and have a bad mindset, your mechanics aren't really going to affect anything. So, starting off with mechanics, the first thing you got to know is what mechanics you don't need to do. And there's a category for those. If you think about it as like, say you're building a house, and flip resets and air dribbles, double taps, those are going to be the roof or the attic. They're the last thing you need to do. And the foundation is going to be like dribble, just basic car control, dribbling, aerials. If you have a bad foundation and you start going for those air dribbles and flip resets, then the house is going to fall down. I learned that the hard way trying to learn how to air dribble and ceiling shot in silver, and I couldn't do any of it because I just didn't know how. I didn't have the car control, and it was horrible because that's all I would go for in game, and I wouldn't practice my aerials, and I didn't know what positioning was, and so it was not a good time for me. But once I really started getting into Rocket League, I realized, well, shit, I don't need to air dribble in silver. I need to ground dribble, and I need to just hit aerials consistently. So once I realized that, it was a huge step in my improvement, and probably will be in yours too if you're like a gold or a plat who just only focuses on mechanics and has no idea how to rotate, and is the reason why everyone hates platinum players. So the other thing about mechanics are the other thing and the last thing, because mechanics, there's really not much to talk about. You just gotta put in the hours. You just gotta practice. If you're playing 5 hours a day on the game and those 5 hours you're spending trying to get better, you're gonna improve way faster than someone who plays 30 minutes or an hour a day and is just having fun. Or even if they are grinding, they're just so much less time is gonna mean a lot less improvement. Obviously, and it is obvious, but a lot of people, they don't feel like committing that time, and then they wonder why someone, like, they see someone with 10,000 hours and they're like, oh, well, you're just gonna be better than me because I only have 1,000 hours. And it's like, well, you could have more hours, but you just chose not to put them in. And obviously people who are working or have school and stuff, you don't have time for that, and that's fine, but you just have to realize that that is going to be a stunt in your growth, and if there's nothing you can do about that, it just is what it is. But if you have the time, then you should be putting it in if you are really trying to rank up and improve. On to positioning. With positioning, it's honestly pretty simple. You just have to learn it, and once you learn it, you got to practice it and recognize when you're not doing it. Watch replays. Go into replays and watch it from the opponent's perspective. Watching it from the opponent's perspective, it just highlights exactly what you're doing wrong. It shows exactly how you gave them the opportunity that they had to score and what you could have done differently, or it shows you how instead of controlling the ball, you just hit it straight back to them and gave the possession back to the other team. So they just had a free shot on net, or they had a free dribble instead of you having a dribble. That kind of stuff really stops you from ranking up once you get to like diamond. Like if you're not controlling the ball ever and you're just hitting it away all the time, it's really going to affect your rank positioning, other than rotations, and for learning rotations, I'd recommend probably like Kepler's 3v3 analysis. That was really helpful for me just learning rotations for the first time, which is really confusing if you don't know what they are, honestly. Like, knowing what they are, it seems pretty simple, but if you have no idea what rotations are in Rocket League, it's a lot easier for someone to explain it to you through like a direct match like he does. And even if you are an experienced player and you know what rotations are and you know how to rotate, watching that video will just help highlight maybe some small mistakes you're making. Like, maybe you're like cutting off your teammate all the time. Although if you are doing that, you probably don't know how to rotate. But that's what replays are helpful for. Even if you know how to rotate, you might be doing those things on accident, just like you'll cut off your teammate every now and then, or you'll just break a rotation. And seeing when you're doing that and what's causing you to break that rotation, that kind of stuff, that can really help with your improvement too. So watching those replays, honestly, is probably one of the best things you can do for improving. A mindset. When it comes to your mindset, it's pretty simple. There aren't that many things to think about. You just gotta have an improving mindset, or a learning mindset. You gotta go into every match focusing. Your sheer focus has to be just getting better. You can worry about your rank, like you can try to rank up, but you should not ever be not going into ranked. Like, say you hit diamond or champ for the first time, you can't just not play ranked on a certain day because you're having a bad day and you don't want to lose the rank. You're probably not having a bad day. You're probably just making some mistakes, or even if you are having a bad day, if you still go into that ranked on a bad day, it'll show you what you're doing wrong on your bad days. So if you're having a bad day, it's still because you're doing something wrong. It's not just the day. It's just you're not playing as well on that day. So you can look at the things that you're not doing as well and go in there, fix them, and it's going to just help you improve again. It's going to make you more consistent. It's going to do tons to just help you learn. So that's about it, honestly. With that mindset thing, don't ever the worst thing is when you lose a match, you get scored on, and you're just like unlucky. So whenever you like lose something, instead of saying unlucky, just immediately try to think to yourself what you did wrong there and what you could have done differently to keep them from scoring on you, or to score your own goals. Say you're like not in the right position and you're like, rip, like, oh, my teammate had a bad pass. Instead say, oh, well, I just wasn't up there as fast as I should have been. That kind of stuff, no one's good at self-criticizing, but it really is important to improve it. So if you guys enjoyed this video, comment down below how it helped you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you're notified whenever I post a video. Only if you enjoy the content, though. If you saw this video and you're like, wow, this guy is kind of stupid, comment that. Honestly, dude. Anyways, hope you guys have a great day. See you later.